Hi everyone, I'll be demonstrating how Microsoft Teams works as a phone system. I'll start off by showing you that Teams user experience, and then I'll go into our enhanced services such as SMS texting, user analytics, real-time queue analytics, and call recording. So I'll share my screen here. All right. And now you should see my Teams desktop application right here. So I'll focus on the telephony elements of Teams, but it's so much more than a phone system. It's this wonderful collaboration tool. Microsoft has created this single pane of glass experience, and what they're trying to do is keep the worker within Teams for as much as possible throughout their day. You're able to talk to your team with your internal chat here. You can collaborate in team sites centered around different subjects where you can share files, collaborate in documents in real time. Of course, you have your calendar, and that links to your Outlook, so you're right within the ecosystem of Office 365. Everything's linked together. But we'll focus here on the Calls tab. Now, internally to call, you don't need any extensions anymore, so it makes it super simple for your users to call internally. You just need to know the person's name that you want to reach. But then adding in the ability to make and receive calls outside your organization just makes so much sense. You're already in Teams. Now, why would you jump out and go into a different system to talk to your clients? So it becomes this one tool for all of your communication. And the login is very simple for your users. It enables them to access their voicemail. For example, you don't need a voicemail PIN anymore to access your voicemail. You're already authenticated when you sign into Teams. So here in my Calls tab, you'll notice I have a dial pad, and this allows me to make a call to anyone outside my organization, even if they're not a Teams member. All I do is just type in the number here, or I can click the numbers here on the dial pad. This will connect me to that public switch telephone network, or PSTN as it's called. Each user is going to get their own direct inward dial number, and that shows up right here on the bottom of the dial pad. So as a user, the first thing they would do is set up Teams to work for their particular work style and calling preferences. And they make it so easy. It's right here in Settings. The first feature I'll point out is a delegation feature. And this might work for you. Maybe you're an executive that wants to give your assistant the ability to make and receive calls on your behalf. You can add them as a delegate and give them certain permissions here to make calls or receive calls or both. And then you'll see if anyone's added you as a delegate, that'll show up here. And your delegates create a shared line appearance. So any of these people, if they were in our demo environment right now and on a call, I can see their presence, I could see they're on a call with someone, and I could see the count of the call here. But the majority of your user settings are in the Calls tab, and that's where your user is going to tell Teams how they want their direct calls to be routed. They have lots of options here. They can have the calls ring them and simultaneously, maybe they want it to have it ring to another number. They could have it ring to anyone within their environment, maybe their delegate, or no one else. And then what happens if it's unanswered? Maybe then they want to roll over to their voicemail, or maybe at that point they'd like to have it roll over to their delegates, or even a call group. And a call group is something that any individual user can create. It's just within their own sphere of influence. Let's say they're a sales agent and they want to put 3 other salespeople into a call group that could answer their calls on their behalf. I might want to pop these 3 people into the call group, and I could try them in the order above. Maybe Clark's the most senior and I'll try him first. Or maybe I just want to try them all at the same time to see who can answer the quickest. And then from there, you can set up your voicemail greeting. There's 2 ways to set up your voicemail greeting. You can either record your own voice here by clicking this button, or you can use this text-to-speech option, which I really enjoy. All you have to do is just type out what you want the greeting to say, and text-to-speech will read it out loud for you. And you'll have a separate one when you're going out of the office. And since it's all linked to Outlook, you can click these 2 boxes, and when you have that Outlook auto reply on, it will automatically play your out-of-office greeting. Or maybe you like to use those out-of-office calendar events, you can have it linked to that as well. And if your user is what we call an agent sitting behind a call queue, they'll see those call queues show up here. So today I'm Lois Lane and she's part of all of these queues. And you'll notice I'm able to toggle in and out of taking calls on all of these except for the second one, sales. That one I will always receive calls for. And that's simply something that's been set up in the admin center. That's a back-end thing that you set up when you're creating these call queues. It's entirely up to you as an organization if you want to give your agents that ability to opt in and out. And once the users set up those things, they're ready to start making and receiving calls. They'll see their history of their calls here. And as I mentioned before, their voicemail is right here. It's called visual voicemail, so I don't have to listen in any particular order. I can just click right in, see the transcription on the right-hand side, listen to the audio. Maybe I determine this is spam and I want to block them. I can easily block the number right here and I won't receive a call again from that number. Or maybe I want to call them right back. It's really as simple as that. Or if I want to add them to speed dial, I can do that. And they'll also receive voicemail via email. So you'll get an email. And if you're using the Teams mobile app, which I highly recommend, you're going to get your voicemail there in the mobile app as well. And as Greg described, you can use Teams as a light contact center. So with Teams phone system, you can create auto attendants that flow into call queues. Your auto attendant helps direct callers to the department or person they're trying to reach. Let's say someone calls your 800 number and they hear the auto attendant that greets them with, "Thank you for calling ABC Company. For sales, press 1. For billing, press 2. Directory, press 3, etc." And you can use Microsoft's text-to-speech for that as well. Or if you'd rather use a voice talent, you can have them record it and upload that audio file right in there for the greeting. And he also mentioned you can have call queues. You can have an unlimited number of call queues with different groups of agents behind them. Let's say someone pressed sales, they press 1, and that goes to your sales queue. Each queue can hold up to 200 calls waiting at one time. And you can pick from a variety of call routing methods. There's attendant routing, and that's where the first call will ring all of the agents at the same time. Or serial routing, and that's where the calls will ring agents one by one, starting from the top of a call agent list. Or round robin, and that's used so each agent will get about the same number of calls. It'll even it out. And finally, there's longest idle. So that's when the call is going to ring the agent that's been sitting in the available green checkmark state for the longest amount of time. And you can preset your business hours and your holiday hours ahead of time and tell Teams how you want the calls to be routed during those times. And Synoptek will set all of this up for you during onboarding. We have white glove onboarding approach, so we work hand in hand with you to set it up exactly how it will work best for your organization. And we also train both your admins and your end users until they feel completely comfortable with the system. All right, so now I'm going to call myself. I'll call Lois here from my personal cell phone number. And then you'll see it ring on my desktop app right here. I could choose to answer or decline or send it to voicemail, but I will answer. So here I am in the call. I have my keypad here. Maybe it was an outgoing call and I needed to press 1 for sales. I have that here. I can see the participants in the call. I could put this caller on hold. Also, I could see my call health. Let's say I'm having some issues with the call. Maybe I want to diagnose in real time and see if there's any thing I can see on the health there. Maybe I want to transfer this call over to someone. And I'm able to transfer this call anywhere internally. Again, I just need to know that colleague's name to transfer it, or externally, I could type in any number here. But for this purpose, I'm going to choose my colleague, Nate. If I click transfer, it's going to connect over to Nate, but I have some options. Maybe he's out of the office and I don't want to make the caller wait through all the rings. I'll just transfer them straight to his voicemail. Or maybe I know he's on the road, but still able to take calls. I might want to transfer it over to his cell phone number or maybe another work number. Anything that's configured for that user in the Azure Active Directory will show up right here. Then I can choose to ring it back to me if Nate doesn't answer. So I really like that feature. If it's an urgent call, I want to make sure it's handled right away. There's also another type of transfer. So this adds a step and this is a consult step. So in this case, I want to talk to Nate first and give him a little bit of context on the call he's about to receive. So it's more of a warm transfer, you may also know it as. Now when I select Nate, it's defaulting to chat, but you might be thinking maybe I don't want to type out the whole situation of the call here. I just want to talk to him. I can do that as well. So if I click audio call, I'll be able to talk to Nate, give him the context, and then transfer the call from there. But I'll show you the chat feature here. That pops out into a separate window. You can see here, I can give him a little bit of context, say, hey, can I transfer Mary over to you? Depending on his answer, now I have the transfer button embedded in that chat window. So I can click transfer right there or have the other options that I showed earlier. But I won't transfer the call here. There's some other features that I want to point out. I could also park this call. So a parked call is essentially a community hold, and it's completely up to you if you want to enable it for your environment. So the use case would be for that is, let's say I'm a receptionist. I pick up a call and the caller has a question on one of my products. I'm really not sure how to answer. So I know I need to get this transferred over to someone, but I'm not sure who's available or who has the expertise. I'm going to park that call. So I'll park it here, and then I'm going to get a code that I can share. I don't even have to remember it. I could actually just copy the code right here. Shared code is 13, so I'll copy that. I could X out of that call now. So now it's kind of like in a parking lot. Anyone can access this call if they have that code. I could hop into my chat and say, hey, sales team, this caller has a question on XYZ. Can anyone pick up the call on Park 13? And then that salesperson can simply go to their parked call button, put in the code, and then pick up the call from there. And it doesn't get lost in the ether. If nobody does choose to pick it up, it boomerangs right back to that first person that parked it within 5 minutes. And then lastly, let's say I want to patch somebody into this call. Instead of transferring it over, I want to add Nate into the call. I can easily do that just by adding him as a participant. And it's a demo environment, so he won't join, but that's completely fine. Just by attempting to add a third person, it's elevated the one-on-one call to a Teams meeting. So now if you're using Teams meetings today, a lot of these features are going to be very familiar to you. Now you'll get chat. Let's say Nate is my boss and he had joined. He could be giving me some coaching here on the side to help me deal with this call. And Sydney, she's on her cell phone. She won't see that interaction. You could add up to a total of 250 participants. So maybe if you had that many people, these reactions might start to become important. At this point, I can turn on live captioning as well, recording, and transcription. And just the difference between live captioning and transcription is that transcription will save into a file, as well as recording. Both of those will save into files that you can share outside of your organization as well after the call. So I'm going to leave that call. So everything I've shown you so far are Microsoft functionalities. Those are things that you're going to get once you get the phone system add-on license. So now I'm going to move into our Synoptic differentiators. So these are things that we have built to enhance Teams. The first being our proprietary app for texting. So here's the text app. And Synoptic has developed this app to keep up with today's communication styles. So your customers might want to interact with your company via text, or you might want to reach out to them with special marketing offers, maybe with a broadcast text. So now you can text them using your business phone number. It's going to be that same DID that was under the dial pad in the calls tab. There's a simple SMS version, which is a one-to-one text. There's also MMS, which allows you to send files, pictures, videos. You can also create group chats of up to 10 participants. As Greg mentioned, one of our clients is using this for crisis counseling. So those patients, they might be going through a mental health crisis, and they may feel more comfortable texting than talking on the phone or emailing. So this could be used to create a much more personal relationship with your clients. Another enhancement we have are these analytics tools. So there's three pieces to these Teams analytics. There's user analytics, real-time queue analytics, and call recording. And this is a polished reporting tool that allows you to build dashboards based on the metrics that you want to see. This one here, for example, is just one that I've created. In this case, I'm a supervisor. I want to check on my team and see if they're meeting certain KPIs here as far as call handling, duration of calls. I can see my inbound summary of calls here. All of these can be popped out, filtered, or saved. And you can see all of this without needing to be a Teams administrator. So as Greg mentioned, right now you can get all this information in the Teams Admin Center, but you have to have that access. And here's another dashboard that I've created. So in this example, I'm responsible for this support queue, and I want to see the statistics since August 1st until the 15th of how the call answering has been going, where my calls are coming from, if I have any missed calls, my answered percentages. And these can be all filtered depending on the queue you're looking at. You can look at a certain auto attendant or even just one single employee. For example, I have an employee summary here. If I just want to take a look at one employee at a time, I can see all of their activity in a certain time frame, all the calls they had, all the conferences they organized, all the conferences they attended, and then a chart here of the volume of those interactions. And all these in blue are hyperlinks. So if I wanted to get really detailed, granular information on a certain call, I can click right in there and see that. There's also a robust reporting feature in this tool. So you're able to create your own from scratch, or you can use their ready-made reports. And what's great is you can actually schedule these reports to run. So you just set them once, schedule them to run on any frequency you desire, in any format you desire. And here's an example of one of those reports. These are our top employees, all their calls, and the duration. And the next piece of this is the real-time statistics. And this is taking it straight from your Teams tenant. These 5 tiles right here are refreshing at a rate of 7 seconds. So if I'm a supervisor of my contact center, I can see right now I have 3 active calls. I've got 14 agents logged on, and 7 of those agents are marked as available. I can see live presence here. All of these I've filtered depending on what I need to see. I can see how many calls are waiting in queue right now. And then the 2 bottom ones here are a total of the day so far. So I've got 6 missed calls and 85% answered. And you'll notice the green and red faces here. Those are thresholds that I can add just depending on your business. So what you consider good or bad here. So you can at a glance see how you're performing. And this is something that would be wonderful. You could throw it up on a wallboard screen if you do have a physical call center. So everyone can hold each other accountable for those KPIs by just looking up at the wallboard. And the third and final piece is called call recording. So this, as Greg mentioned, is mainly for compliance needs. It's going to capture all of your team's voice interactions for the employees that you identify when you're setting it up. So it records their internal, their external, all of their team's conference calls. And you can set different role-based permissions. So example, you might want to give a supervisor a login for this, but then only give them permission to see their own team's recordings. You'll see a list of all the recordings here. You'll be able to play them, see the overview of the start time, the end time, the duration, the participants. You could even categorize them if you're looking through here and want to identify the subject of the call. The other piece of this is active calls. So this would be great for a training manager. Let me sign in here. So a training manager might have just trained a newbie and they want to listen in on that first call. So they can silent monitor into a live call. Maybe they want to make sure that agent is asking the right questions and following all the steps that they learned in training. So they can do that with this tool. And if I were an end user using this tool, maybe I want to pause my recording and take that credit card information and then unpause it afterwards.